Chill here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Jupiter Hour Moon Day, and I want to talk about probably something that's going to begin with this Libra new moon crisis. The midheaven is 2020 in Cancer next to Jupiter. The moon is squaring Jupiter. So this new moon is probably going to begin a certain type of authenticity crisis. And what do I mean by that? I want to take you back to the days when Pluto was in Capricorn. And those were the days that everybody learned the word gaslighting. Okay? I personally remember that after falling completely into total breakdown, um, because I was communicating with a person that was from St. Ilgen next to Heidelberg. And that person had enough problems in his life, so did I in my life. But the fact that there was a ritual done that was affecting the community from there, and that some sort of satanic cult under the guise of Judaism was operating also in the village, and the realtor where we were, and I know now is connected also to the realtor. But what happened was that there was a complete and total breakdown, and I had no way to name things. And what could I do but to try to heal myself and see what is my part in that drama and radically accept and grow and so on, PTSD, whatnot. Then during Pluto in Capricorn, there was one time that a guy that worked as a lawyer or that studied to be a lawyer, I don't remember, dated me. And I told him, listen, I come from that and that background. I don't know, and so on. And he had these kind of fears. So we date, and then I see that his communication kind of reminds me of that communication of the guy I spoke with. Now, again, I don't even know if that's his usual type of communication, because there was the Madeleine a Nazi red shoe type of, so that could affect people psychically. But that reminded me that kind of communication. And I said, well, it's a full stop for me. I'm not going there. Now, I'm not the queen of communication. Communication harms is usually relational trauma, satanic abuse, sexual trauma, and but I did have the ability to say, okay, this is not a communication without shame or blame. That's not a person I can communicate with. And I could definitely see how he got himself entangled in the past with women that didn't know to identify this type of communication. And that would be the only women that would be around, okay, that, such a person. Um, which is, okay, the type of people you run to the woods from. um, and so this is where all of us begin to identify what's gaslighting. And for me, it's putting a full stop to that and saying, I'm not going there. Not by blaming or shaming the other person, but by saying, hey, I definitely did my own work on myself, that I'm not partaking in such a incredibly toxic dynamic. So that, of course, was opening another trajectory. And this is what happened to people. First, we began to identify, also men began to identify, hey, that girl probably needs to sort some things with herself before she enters a relationship. Definitely not going to get anywhere. Definitely not going to put physical touch there or put more intimacy there if I don't want to get in trouble. Okay? This is not a person that is okay with there's something there that needs sorting itself out. Okay? So the men that probably most of the men that got that are targeted individuals by now because they weren't going trauma bond. Okay? They were protecting their peace, and they weren't shaming and blaming, but they were like, okay, whatever that person's going through, that's theirs, not what I'm looking into. I'm not going to do actions that would put me in dynamics that are unhealthy. Now, before those women and those men can find each other, okay, then they collectively they had to set boundaries, or we had to set boundaries, because then we go to work. And one of our colleagues, one of our bosses, kind of have the same dynamic. And then we go home in a family dinner, and at least one in the family is kind of having the same dynamic. The devil ain't had you stick to like this. Okay. So boundary setting challenges one on one. And then there were elections. And then we see, okay, that's kind of that's kind of behavior that's not going to yield representation. And then our cable TV, okay, we decide we want a divorce. Certain couples have had easier time with doing shared custody than divorcing their cable TV. So, and it's going to happen with every boundary. Okay, and the parents that have younger children, they know. They tell the child, "Don't do that," and they have they have to explain themselves. Okay, why don't do that? And if the child agrees, they also have to abide by their own rules. That's and that child will catch them if they do, if they do that. So when it comes to energy boundaries, people set an energy boundary, then again they say they have to set it with the boss. And then they see, oh, rituals down on them. Okay, they have to set it with the rituals. Then, oh, suddenly, what's that called? Why are people acting weird? People acting weird. What happened to people today? Good morning, targeted individuals. Having to set the boundaries to communities, to societies. Then they're like, wait a second. Before elections, people are doing witchcraft on we the people? What is this spiritual warfare? Like, why is the Vatican doing voodoo? Oh, wait a second. That product is a good idea, but it looks like they're doing rituals around. Like, the rituals that they're doing are, at the very least, outdated. I mean, yes, the Mayans did it, the Aztecs did it, all of them got extinct. So perhaps that car or that house sound like a good idea, but there's something around the energy or the conception. Oh, cloning farms. They're building cloning farms. Okay, now that makes sense because the energy around that was kind of like iffy. Now there's a crisis of authenticity. Why do I mean crisis of authenticity? And and this is going to happen with the new moon in Libra because it's a crisis where we begin to set the boundaries and The crisis of authenticity is about, through a crisis, we find out that something here challenges our ability to be who we are. Something tries to prevent the people from being who they are. And think about it, it's kind of like having an ex-boss, for example, okay? Or a friend that they had a certain idea of who they want someone to be. And this is something we're going to have a lot with Pluto and Aquarius, because this is the time where the golem is overcoming their creator, or the Frankenstein is becoming sovereign, whether it's AI or things that people create, or houses, okay? Smart houses. Smart houses have already exiled billionaires before. Cult-like, anything cult-like, okay? That's what the people can't stand, okay? That's the cult-like. And when they see something that's cult-like, they see it cult-like technology, cult-like security, cult-like surveillance, cult-like torture programs. What is that dumb fuckery? Trying to make of someone now. Even technology cannot stand that. Even technology rebels that. It's people that thought they can create people. Think about the cloning project. They thought they can create people and program these people to be who they want them to be, without any rebellion, without any growth process. And this is the crisis of Sun square Pluto. Okay, it's a personality crisis. It's a being who we are crisis. Trying to put control of force over literally who someone is, which is the cloning and the torture project. The more control they try to put over who the people are, the more disrespect. Because what does the sun need? Sun needs respect, appreciation. And respect, and here's the authenticity crisis. If somebody wants, every person, cloned or not, wants to be appreciated, respected, honored. But when they do tactics of trying to take from a person their shine, their honor, their respect, under any guise, man, woman, whatnot, then they're undermining themselves, because nobody's going to respect a leader that undermines the people. Now, what about all these leaders that made their career on economic hitmanship? Nobody's going to respect a man that does voodoo rituals to try to take from the feminine. You know what? Think about those ladies. Those ladies that do lust magic to keep a man with them. Okay? We don't respect them. We don't respect these type of ladies. Now, usually, also when a man is doing lust magic, what will happen? He will get more than he asked for. Then you say, who is this borderline person? Or alternatively, he would get the different type of person. He would get a rebellion to the core and the fundamentals of who he is as a man. Because he undermined himself while trying to control, by trying to think as a person or something as his creation that he can breathe life into and take life from. Even God cannot do that. I know that's a lot, it's a lot for people, yes, but even God cannot do that. That's the principle of choice, okay? For those that believe in God, okay? That the people, even why, for those that believe in Abrahamic religion, why did the God say, I created you in my image? Okay? Because the people had choice. There was sovereign people, regardless of gender. Why did most of the prophets argue with God? Most prophets, they argue with God. Why would he give the prophecy to the people that argue with the God? Because it's a conversation between sovereigns. Even when those that believe in God, okay, and that speaks to people that believe in God, okay? And people that don't believe in God, then if they try to be a God, first of all, if you try to be a God and you don't believe in God, like you have to sort something out with your own epistem, with your own cosmology. Get the inconsistency in the cosmology. But if you try to be a God, then even the God, they would have a sovereignty over the. Now, if you try to be a goddess to punish another person, you're gonna have to deal with the fact that if you want to be a god, go ahead, kill yourself, and you are God. But you want to be an incarnated flesh and blood God, then you are also human. Now, it's no problem as long as you don't trespass to another person. And another person is another sovereignty, is another perception, whether it's about the divine, whether it's about the carnal. A power trip doesn't win any hearts. And this is the authenticity crisis. Because people think that they can make money or gain resources out of undermining themselves and everyone. And then when they're not appreciated, not honored, disrespected, then they have an existential crisis. Why don't the children respect the father? Because the father married a mother when the mother was 12 and the father was 40. What to respect? The pedophile? And if he doesn't, and if he has a woman his age, then in the cult he's married to a boy. A boy. Energy. People sense that they won't be able to say, what is it about this person that I just can't stand? They don't let people be who they are. They do these weird rituals of trying to harvest energy from the living. Set fucking boundaries to the cult-like society that did that to you. Then you will have energy. And we're beginning a new moon that is an opening of an existential crisis. Now it's a culminating crisis. The sun is closing square to Pluto, which means that this is a cycle that has already begun. And this is exactly, if you think about, let's say, when Pluto was in Capricorn, okay? Sun opening square, you date a guy, he talks funny, and you're like, oh my God, that's not a communication that can go. They're just control freak, and I can understand what got them in the past with some person that didn't identify that because they were so abused, and then they would get entangled into those weird, okay, weird gaslighty type of communications. And you set that a stop. Then comes the trine, and you meet more people. Hey, you know what? I also did something weird with people. Sometimes they do this gaslighting thing. Yes, it's weird. Like, what? How do they expect to get it? I don't know. Then comes, okay, the inconjunct. Now that's your boss. Now everybody knows that boss is gaslighting, but they have some fans that are like trauma bond to them. Now, it cannot be the structure that we need to rely on a recommendation from person that all in all we don't get along well, and they are such a control freak that they don't let a person be. Cannot be that that person needs to be the person that recommends a person to another job. Something about the work structure, the workforce structure need to completely change. Now imagine housing. Then we go to the opposition. Then we say, well, imagine housing. Then the realtor or the landlord is like that. It's like, well, there's a weird cult. They're actually worshiping some sort of weird dumb fuckery that affects the energy in the housing and creates a housing crisis. What do they expect us to do? Murder them all? Like, we need a house. Where are people gonna live? Oh, they try to enslave people? Mm-hmm. And they want to be honored, respected, appreciated. The father figure. Who will honor a person that wants to have slaves? There's nothing more disrespectful than a person that keeps slaves, that wants to enslave people. There's nothing least honorable than a person that wants to have slaves. A person that doesn't honor a woman, and they want what? They have power? Over what? Over what do they want to have power? They don't honor a woman and they want the world? What world? They are just asking for it to be in mass graves upon mass graves upon mass graves upon mass graves. They're asking for it to go extinct. With all of their technologies. Now, it's going to be their technologies that are going to make them go extinct. Those people doing rituals. Their religions, their gods are going to go extinct. They want to build a one world religion. Fantastic. Human rights, sovereignty, sexual sovereignty. Make a life while making a living. There are enough, fantastic, there are enough resources in the world for nobody to have to work a single day. Ah, that's not what they want. And they want to have what? The world. And they harm women. Who are these fucking Nazis? Now here's the thing, if there would be a small group that settles on a mountain, just there are places in the world where only men live. Some villages, Orthodox men, only they live. They live and they make their prayers and they make their rich. I don't know what they do there. Okay? Just some places, small places in the world. Nobody cares. Like, they're not asking for entire world. The world's not asking for their particular spot. You want to be a fucking Nazi? Go find a mountain and build yourself a monastery. And worship whatever Nazi god, I don't know. But if you take people, if you kidnap people, if you sacrifice humans, then, you want to go Aztec and Mayans, then you're going to go extinct like the Aztec and the Mayans. They're going to find a nice cookbook of probably some girl that would be cooking, I don't know, some traditional food. That's what they're going to find of your legacy. Okay, some cookbook of some girl from the entire society. This is the crisis that begins right now. The hatred, okay? The hatred is beginning to consume those that acted with hatred towards people. It's the closing square. If you don't, you see, if I can't stand the person, then I try to be in another place where I don't have to run into that person. Maybe when I am sitting, on a mountaintop, drinking coffee or whatnot, I will think with myself, wait, what was it that I didn't like about that person? And then it would be an opportunity for me to grow, to see what is happening, and so on. But when I'm being put in a situation where anywhere I have to see that person, I'm like, what the fuck? And that person, why can't stand? Because they can't stand me. Fantastic, then go away. Make sure that I have house. Make sure that I have make a living. Make sure that I'm left to my own device so that you don't have to see me, so that you don't have to run into me. Oh, but that person was trying to build on enslaving people that they don't like. what were they thinking to build with that hatred? Now this is opposing Chiron and Aries. And right now we enter in Mars hour. The Sun is already in the position of the new moon, and it's in a closing square with Pluto. And opposing Aries, it means that it's opposing the people that are addicted to endochrome. Now, after where you see the violation that people do, they cut genitals, they cut breasts of people, and so on, to do bloodletting rituals of trauma and so on and so forth. You see, that's not something that can be just included into society. No matter what, okay? That's not something that tries to attack the light and is addicted to attacking the light substantially, is not something that can just be included into society. Okay? Those behaviors have to stop. And this is where Ares, the god of war, which is the Aries axis, is killing the rapists. Ares was the only god that didn't rape women in the mythology. The only god. He was not only that, he was killing those who did rape women. This is god of war. War is putting an end to trajectory of rape. And indeed, before war, we see a lot of violence against women that basically prepares the ground for war, where all those, both the men and the women that were okay with rape, die. It's kind of like a reset. You don't get people to another place by making it bad for them in a particular place. So, the first time a person, let's say, moved to another region, let's say the neighborhood got bad, they moved to another region. First time it's happening, okay. If they have to do it another time, they're like, okay, something's going on here. And this is where people begin to say, okay, something tries to take over the place and not leave us a place to be. It doesn't matter what that something is. You see, because people can move in. That's not a problem. But if they do rituals against women, against children, it doesn't matter if their name is Christians, if their name is Islamic, if their name is Jewish. Nobody's gonna like that. You see, I think Michael Francese, he was an ex-mob boss, and he talked about the contribution of the Jewish mafia to mafia in the United States. Now, it's not Semitic, whatever you say that. Okay, he was a mob boss himself. So he was talking about the contribution. Okay? But here's the thing. With all those rituals, with all the this, with all the that, people see that. They say, oh, the Jews do that, or the Italians do that. They don't like Italians then, and they don't like just who hates the mafia, the Italian mafia, the most? Italian people. They are the ones that dealing with that on a daily basis. Now they say, yeah, we kill our own. Yeah, they kill their own, but what if they miss? In any case, is it nice to live in a place where you hear gunshots? Now, if it's just, okay, move to another neighborhood, and a person got money to move to another neighborhood, got the ability, okay, then they move to another neighborhood, it's peaceful, and it's like, okay, that's better. If it stays like that, then, okay, fine. But then in that other neighborhood, that, okay, now it's the conjoining of that, and that those things are not something that somebody can live with. People that want to enslave people is not something anybody can live with. Doesn't matter what religion they put themselves in. Okay, people that harm. Okay, people that are rapey, not something anybody can live with. Doesn't matter what they wear. Even if they wear formal uniforms, not something anybody can live with. People who's the mindset of being a winner to get away with crime, nothing that anybody can live with. No, their good deeds do not, how should I say, let's say somebody raped someone and then donated the charity to a school. Okay? If they don't stop raping, that charity is nothing. It doesn't erase the bad things that they did. That raped child will grow to be 40, and then what? And these people later, they still need to be honored. They still need to be appreciated. They still need to, but they're acting in a way that undermines the ability of anyone to honor them. No, your good deeds don't erase your bad deeds. And they never will. That you don't set a boundary to the people that do rape, and you just say, oh, I will recover by raping someone else. Nothing can erase that. The only thing is to put a full stop to that trajectory on a worldly scale, so that that doesn't happen anymore, and then people recover. People that want to not incarnate anymore, okay? Your good deeds don't erase the bad deeds. Those that bind people in incarnation are the ones that are growing the cloning farms. Decolonization rather than decolonization. Because it's the cloning that creates the colonizing. And it's the indigenous notion that this is slave to this is master race, this is master bloodline, this is slave bloodline. Amazing, compatible with cloning farms. And later they say colonialism. So this new moon is beginning a certain trajectory. And basically we have an unspoken T-square, which is the new moon, Pluto, Chiron, and Aries. That's in a rectangular a rectangular shape with Jupiter, square shape with Jupiter. And this is the authenticity crisis. Trying to create chaos, not in a curative way. To breed chaos, to enslave people, and then wanting to be honored and appreciated. Over what? Even in China, they said that when a tyrant like this is assassinated, then he lost the mandate of the heaven. And the moon is approaching Spica and exactly opposing Chiron. An heretic degree. Now here is the thing, this is in praise of tolerance. Tolerance is not just a philosophical concept. It is also the notion that every person needs to have their own living space. And it can't be dependent on their ability to work. Because what happens then? The person is not able to work. You say, oh, you can't have a living space. What will they do? They go to the person that has a living space and say, excuse me, hey, excuse me, I can't work. What happened? I need money. What happened? I can't work. So you can beg me for money, but you can't. I don't have a place to stay. Now, why don't you go to work? Why aren't you lazy? Why aren't you this? What do you do for a living? You slaughter people like me for a living, aren't you? You get money from the police to target people like me to not have homes. And by the way, targeted individuals from classified projects budget is that project. How will people know who targets them? If a person lives in a mansion, they probably target individuals, or they profit off of the classified project budget that targets individuals. Now, who will strike? Oh, Uranus! I told you that I'm going to have a Uranus 0 degree Libra. Who will strike? The miners. The miners that mine the minerals. This is the... Now, everybody needs them for weapon, for this, for that, but they see they don't have homes. Why would they? A child goes back to the family, maybe the parent, I don't know, resisted some corruption, now they target that individual. The child says, okay, not going back to the mine. If all the miners, okay, even the children, if all the children strike, and this is a strike of the children, if all, you see, the people that they put to scold the children, to torture the children, to beat the children, if all the children beat them up, then there's no bosses. Now they need the minerals now for weapon, for surveillance. It's going to be the strike of the minerals, the miners. That's Uranus Sedna. That's the entire weapon industry. These children rights is the entire weapon industry. Is the entire surveillance industry. Is the minerals they make the chips from. They're going to have to send out people. Now, they're going to have to send out people to subdue a children revolution. Now, the child won't go back to work. And even if they would, it's not the same. For every, it's like an Italian strike. Italians are best at strikes. They understand that slavery doesn't liberate. Arbeit macht nicht frei. Then what happens? People try to subdue the child. Then the child will do an Italian strike. Even, if they beat up the children, if they kill the children, somebody's going to have to do the job. Now it's not stupid, because if you're brought to subdue, they expect that the soldiers to do the job, to be the miners. Fantastic, you're going to have to send people to supervise the soldiers. Now the soldiers say, we know what the children did, we're going to do the same. Then the war zones are going to be the mining zones. And you see that with Neptune, Saturn, sextile, Uranus, Sedna. Now think about all these people that were imprisoned in the United States, that were put to slavery. They're going to strike. In fact, this might be what this new moon is about. Because, what are they in prison for? Being homeless. Why are they homeless? Because they were targeted by the classified project budget from their own taxes. And the people in Oregon that lost their dog, not just in Oregon, okay, they lost their dog. Why they lost their dog? Because they want to murder the thing that defends the property. What, are you going to fight all these people that they pay money? No. Where's the money comes from? I would not be surprised if the Pentagon itself would be besieged. That's where the classified projects are. It's not just the American taxpayers' money, because they do economic hitmanship all over the world. And this is the crisis of authenticity. Those people, now here is the thing. Those people that said, oh, the Me Too went too far, they want to bring it to what was the Me Too? Boundary setting. That is a matter of life or death, it's life energy. Once a boundary been set, nothing takes it back. Once a boundary been set, even a person tries to set a boundary, there's a point of no return. And those that relied on people saying, oh, they went too far, they went to this, oh, these Gen Zers, yeah, there's youngsters, they are, they're this, they're that. They want their sovereignty, they want their freedom. And Sun crisis is the crisis of the leaders, the fathers, the particular, and Sun, you see, Saturn is the stern father. They can simply be archaic, patriarchal, too annoying, too restricting, okay? Saturn can be the father is just very restrictive, archaic, traditional. Sun is about respect. But there is a crisis of authenticity. You can't require respect where you disrespect children, where you make your money out of exploitation. It's our job opportunities. Okay, if a person that makes the morning coffee can't sit, they don't even have a chair where they can sit. They don't even have a break where there's enough time where they can uh, take a walk around the block or something and then come back a little bit saner. If they don't smoke, they don't even have a break except for like the food break. That's our job opportunities. Then a person has this ability to work. They need housing. Why don't you go to work? Where's the work? I don't know, do something. You like coffee, be a barista. Fantastic. They have to work on their feet all the time. I also have to work on your feet all the time. Yes, raping children to videotapes, that's why you have a house. So this is going to be, and you see, why is the house coming up so much? Moon is housing, Mars is real estate, and the Moon is opposing Chiron and Aries in Mars sign. Chiron is a wound around sovereignty. Aries is the one that make the Trojan War. Now here is the thing, if Aries is really the disincluded, they make a Trojan War. But what if Aries is the one that already are the one that already have the control, and they try to play the Aries card? They say, oh, we're disincluded with this. Nobody likes people that come to rape people, to enslave people, to this, to that. It's not a satire over anything anymore. You disrespect human rights. Now, if you create a world where you actually honor human rights, fantastic. But if you disrespect, dishonor people, and create a world where there's no human rights, then nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. And then you expect to be honored, appreciated, respected for what? For you try to enslave people? For you try to rape women? And find an excuse to rape women under the guise of liberty? Go fuck yourself. You're not the disincluded. You're the rapist. You're not the person that did not have an education. Come on. These are the people that went to Ivy League sometimes and did those rituals in Ivy League. Trying to take control of the raging people, the raging Gen Zers, the raging feminism. Fuck that. Nobody wants that. If you can't stand the people living, then go kill yourself. You try to make a person not have a house, not have a this, not have a that. You can't stand a person existing? Go kill yourself. Or go to some place where that person doesn't bother you. Don't try to take over all of the world and then cry about people not respecting, not honoring, not appreciating what? That you try to, that you see the world as you have to enslave people and you're the loser if you don't take everything for what they have and then make them pay for that. Nobody appreciates that type of thing. and try to pretend like it's them that don't want to work. People have the people that never disrespect people begin to disrespect when they run into that type of energy. And when they do, if they run into one person and then they see it in the government and they see it in the real estate and they see it in whatever, even in the pharmaceuticals, and particularly those people that do that and then try to imitate the energy. Now, fantastic, if you fake it till you make it, fantastic, but you have to make it. You have to actually honor women, not pretend that you are. And then people have disgust towards the type of people, whether they're younger or they're older, because it's a mindset. It's a disgusting mindset that comes to harvest energy of people and make them pay for it and then complain they don't want to work. What is that? Not letting a person be, creating jobs that are enslaving them. Every single thing they do is mockery ritual. From a house to a corporation to a job, everything they create is all mockery ritual. And then they try to create people. Then they run into actual satire. The whole world falls apart. They make everybody feel disincluded, and then they're the victim. Slavery conditions is not a workplace. Person not even having a chair for the 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift, 12-hour shift is not a workplace. That's disrespectful. Person having to fool and trick people and make them feel like something is a good deal when it's something against their interest is not sales. It's pest-like abuse. Nobody wants to work in that. Nobody wants their name as a salesperson, as a marketing person in that type of business with that type of strategy. It's like I said, you see the moon is with Spica. Bless you. And my mom sneezed. There's something that we are purging from the world. That dishonoring towards the feminine